I only date rich guys. So there you are, vibing with a super gorgeous lady. The energy is flowing. You're cracking jokes. She's laughing. You're teasing her and it's working like crazy. There's even some flirty touching going back and forth. You notice her pupils are dilated. Her lips are swollen. She's even stolen a few glances down at your junk. But then she drops a few anti-love bombs. How much do you make? What kind of car do you drive? What is your net worth? Where do you live? Where do you vacation? What is your favorite hedge fund? These questions, of course, indicate that she's only interested in guys with money. You run a mental scan of the contents of your wallet and your bank account, and you calculate you might not be able to make the rent this month. She doesn't say this out loud, but boy oh boy does she mean it. I only date rich guys. How do you respond to such an affront to your sensibilities? Is it possible to flip this romantic objection around into a reason to slide in between the sheets and live happily ever after? Why, yes, there is. Here are some suggestions.
I only date rich guys.
Wouldn't it be better to date a normal guy like me and use your ambition-inspiring femininity to turn me into a rich guy? Wouldn't that feel better from a personal development standpoint?
I only date rich guys.
That's a pretty dated belief. I mean, yeah, maybe back in the 1800s when the only way a woman could get money was through a man, I suppose that was a good strategy back then.
I only date rich guys.
How specifically do you define rich? Rich in assets? Rich in love? Rich in communication? Rich in unforgettable emotional intimacy?
I only date rich guys.
Very few people are really rich. That means you're cutting yourself off from 99% of the men who would dedicate their lives to making you happy. For what? A guy who's going to dedicate his life to making more money? Is that what you really want?
I only date rich guys.
I guess you're still in the dating phase. You haven't had much luck reeling in an actual rich guy, have you? Why not take a break from the hunt and see how the poor people live?
I only date rich guys.
How do you define rich? By net worth? By yearly income? By assets? Suppose you met a guy who had everything that you wanted, but his net worth was $1 less than what you defined as rich.
I only date rich guys.
I think what you mean is you only date successful guys. And nobody is more successful than me when it comes to linguistic flim-flam.
I only date rich guys.
You only date rich guys, but I think you marry poor guys. Is that what you mean to say?
I only date rich guys.
Sure, if you want everybody to see you as a brainless trophy wife who is only good for one thing, I suppose that is one way to define yourself.
I only date rich guys.
You're only saying that because you've never been with a man who has true ambition. A man who is still hungry. A man who has that deep, burning desire to make something of himself. A man who will gaze upon you with a look of undying love and gratitude for helping this guy to make his fortune. You'll never get that with a guy who's already rich.
I only date rich guys.
Have you always been that way? Who did you date when you were in high school? Rich friends of your dad?
I only date rich guys.
My mind is rich with all the ways that I can give you extended pleasure.
I only date rich guys.
I heard that rich guys have the craziest fetishes. Is that what you're really after?
I only date rich guys.
Suppose you did meet a rich guy. You hit it off. You fell in love, but the day before your wedding, he had a vision from an angel of heaven saying to give all his money to charity. Would you ghost him and start over from scratch?
I only date rich guys.
Some of the richest guys in history were not only evil, but they had huge harems of women. So what you're saying is you'd rather be part of a harem than have a dude all to yourself.
I only date rich guys.
Did you see the movie Citizen Kane? He was one of the richest dudes of all time, but all he really wanted was his sled, Rosebud, that he played with when he was a kid, when he was poor, when he was truly happy. Does this mean you're only interested in dating men who are deeply emotionally unfulfilled?
I only date rich guys.
Is that because you are incapable of making money on your own?
I only date rich guys.
I heard there are some princes overseas who make their ladies do the craziest things. Is that what you really want?
I only date rich guys.
Rich guys are some of the most controlling people you'll ever meet. Are you saying you want to live inside of a dungeon for the rest of your life?
I only date rich guys.
Life is much more than simply about money.
I only date rich guys.
Love of money is the root of all evil.
I only date rich guys.
Jesus said, "Blessed be the poor, for they will inherit the earth." Are you saying you're an enemy of Jesus? How to practice. These are best brought up before the actual objection comes up conversationally. If you're talking to a lady and you suspect she's thinking in terms of money, introduce a couple of these as coming from a friend of a friend to kind of get the idea out there subconsciously. Mention a hypothetical friend who's dating a girl, and this girl used to only date rich guys, but now they're very happy together. Before they started dating, she talked to her friend about dating this guy who wasn't rich, and her friend said, and then introduce a couple of these reframes. Play around with these. Have fun dropping these into conversations whenever you suspect the "I only date rich guys" objection might come up. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. And for more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com.